Good morning. Thank you for being here today. I'm Illinois Senate Deputy Leader Sue Rezin, and I am proud to be here today with Representative Judd Davis and a tireless advocate for protecting our youth who happens to be one of my constituents and my friend, Michelle Peterson. We're here to talk about a deeply important piece of legislation that we are calling Andrews Law, named in honor of Michelle's son. There are two versions of the same bill in both chambers, with the one that I'm carrying, which would be Senate Bill 284. Andrews Law is about justice, it's about accountability. And above all, it's about protecting children from predators who use manipulation, coercion, and grooming to do irreparable harm. Right now in Illinois, individuals charged with grooming, trafficking minors, or engaging in involuntary sexual servitude of a child can be offered plea deals. Deals that reduce their charges and, in some cases, let them walk away with a slap on the wrist. Let me be clear. This is unacceptable. Andrews Law would end that practice once and for all. It prohibits plea deals for those charged with these horrific crimes, ensuring they face the full force of the law. No reduced sentences, no quick deals behind closed doors, just the real consequences that they deserve. The bill also expands where convicted child sex offenders can be, keeping them out of places that are meant for kids, like schools, youth centers, and other facilities that cater to minors. This legislation sends a strong, unmistakable message. If you exploit or harm a child, there will be no easy way out. You will be held accountable. But this is more than just a policy, it's personal. Michelle Peterson has taken one of the most painful experiences that a parent can go through, watching her son be groomed by a trusted adult, and turn that unimaginable pain into action. She has taken her fight across, well beyond Illinois, across the country, helping pass similar laws in numerous other states. Thanks to her courage, states across the nation are beginning to recognize that our legal system must be better when it comes to protecting children. And now it's time for Illinois to do the same. Michelle, your strength, your determination, and your love for your son have brought us here today. Thank you for everything you've done and everything you continue to do to protect children and families. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Michelle to share her story.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for being here. I stand before you today as a mother, and that is the most important role I've ever had. I'm here because of my son, who was groomed by someone we trusted, a male teacher who used his position of authority to manipulate, isolate, and target my child when he was just 15 years old. This man was 34. He knew exactly what he was doing. Grooming is the calculated process predators use to break down a child's defenses. It often begins with subtle attention, praise, or special treatment. Over time, it escalates into secrecy, control, and emotional entrapment, setting the stage for sexual abuse. It's deliberate, it is predatory, and it is happening in our schools, churches, clubs, and online spaces. It's not the white man or the white van predator coming for your child. It's typically someone you know. In the United States, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before they turn 18. And for boys, the reality is even more hidden. Most do not disclose their abuse until adulthood, if ever. Shame, confusion, and fear often silence them. My son was one of those boys, but we fought back. Our family endured a 3-year legal battle to secure what became the first unlawful grooming conviction in the United States. That case set legal precedent and is now being used in human trafficking and child exploitation prosecutions across the country. But we should never have had to fight that hard for justice. No family should. Andrews Law, House Bill 1140 and Senate Bill 284, named for my son, seeks to stop predators earlier in the cycle before the abuse begins. This bill would strengthen grooming laws in Illinois, making it harder for offenders to manipulate the system. It ensures grooming charges cannot simply be pled down or dismissed. And it includes restrictions to prevent convicted predators from owning, operating, or working at businesses that cater to children, because access is the first weapon of a groomer. This bill is not about politics. It's about protection. It's about prevention. Red or blue, we all have children and should be willing to protect all of them. So today I am making a heartfelt plea to the Illinois House Rules Committee. Please call Andrew's Law for vote. Not as legislators, but as parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. Think of the children in your life. Think of the children in your districts. We have the power to stop these predators at the forming stage before a child is ever abused. We can't afford to wait until another child is violated, another family is shattered, and another predator walks free. Andrew's Law is a chance to lead, to protect, and to do what is right. And to every member of the Rules Committee, especially Chairwoman Robin Gable, according to your own biography, you spent over 20 years advocating for increased health care measures for women, children, and families. Now is your moment to continue that mission. Use your leadership to protect Illinois children from being groomed, abused, and trafficked. And to Senator Kimberly Lightford, as the chair of the Assignments Committee, who proudly identifies as a child advocate on her own website, please join in this mission and call Senate Bill 284 for vote. If advocacy for children is truly your passion, now is the time to prove it with action. All of you claim to fight for children on your websites. Is that just a tagline to entice your constituents, or do you truly mean it? If you mean it, then prove it. Bring this bill for vote. Protect our children, the most vulnerable among us, and the future of this country. I want to personally thank Representative Judd Davis and Senator Sue Rezin for sponsoring Andrew's Law. Your leadership, your courage, and your commitment to protecting children mean more than you know. And on a personal note, my son worked on 2 of Senator Rezin's campaigns. You believed in him when the world tried to silence him. Because we fought for my son's right, he is thriving. He fulfilled his dream to become a United States Marine, something he had wanted to do since he was 7 years old. He stood proudly to protect our country, just as we fought to protect him. Parents, let this be your encouragement. Fight for your children, stand up for them. 79% of children whose parents fight for them in cases like ours go on to become productive and successful members of society. Be that voice and be that protector. As a mother, I hold on to the words of Luke 17:2, where Jesus said, "It would be better for them to be thrown into the sea with a millstone tied around their neck than to cause one of these little ones to stumble." This verse is not just a warning, it is a call to action. If we truly believe in protecting our children, we must act with that very same urgency and seriousness. Andrew's Law gives us the opportunity to live out that conviction, to take a stand against those who harm the most innocent and the vulnerable. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce Representative Judd Davis, who is sponsoring this bill on the House side.
Thank you. I'm Judd Davis, State Representative of the 75th District, which happens to fall into my Senator's district, Senator Sue Rezin, which I'm very thankful to her for championing Senate Bill 284 in the Senate. I'm proud to stand with my Senator and Michelle Peterson, whose courage and determination helped bring this issue to light. Every session, I bring forward a core group of bills aimed at one thing: protecting kids. My bill, House Bill 1140, is one of them. This bill is about making Illinois a place where predators face real consequences, and as a result, where kids are safe. House Bill 1140 introduces critical amendments to the Criminal Code of 2012, enhancing protections for minors against sexual exploitation and trafficking in Illinois. Specifically, it prohibits individuals charged with involuntary sexual servitude of a minor, trafficking in persons involving victims under 18, or grooming from pleading down to lesser offenses. Additionally, the bill makes it a Class 4 felony for a child sex offender to knowingly operate, manage, be employed by, volunteer at, or be associated with, or even present at any facility providing entertainment exclusively directed toward individuals under the age of 18. The exploitation of children isn't just evil, it's calculated. Offenders often look for legal loopholes, ways to slip through the cracks. House Bill 1140 closes these cracks, drawing a firm line: target kids, and the law won't go soft on you. It's not just a legal message, it's a moral one. We're saying to families across Illinois, your children matter. Their safety matters, and we will not tolerate anything less than full accountability for people seeking to harm them. I'm especially grateful to Michelle Peterson and her son Andrew for their strength. Their story reminds us this work isn't theoretical. It's about real people, real pain, and real protection. And it's why this bill is part of my foundational package for both the 103rd and 104th General Assemblies. Because this fight to defend the innocent isn't optional, it's essential. I respectfully urge the majority party to give either bill, mine or Senator Rezin's, the opportunity of a fair hearing, real debate, and an honest path forward. Protecting children shouldn't be a partisan issue. Let's do what's right together. Thank you. And in closing, we'll open it up to questions.
For Senator Rezin or Representative Davis, have you guys received bipartisan support? Are there talks with Democrats right now about this bill?
In general, everyone agrees with the topic. The challenge for us, first of all, if the bill were allowed to be moved, I am quite certain we would have bipartisan support. The purpose of this press conference is to explain the difficulty of getting the bill out of assignments to be heard. Once that bill starts to move, it will be much easier to get and receive bipartisan support. Everyone supports, regardless of what party you're from, supports legislation that protect children from grooming. Again, this is just a press conference to let them know that we've been trying for several years now to get this bill called in the state of Illinois, while similar bills throughout the entire country have been passed at other states that Michelle can speak to. But yet, in the state of Illinois, it's very difficult to get the bill called.
Well, if you hang around prosecutors for any length of time, you might hear, well, what you're talking about takes away one of our tools. When you have a guilty plea, regardless of the circumstances, you've got a conviction. If we go to trial, we may not get a conviction. If we go to trial, the victim has to relive it all over again. I mean, how would you respond to it?
Yeah, I would say that this bill simply is sending a message that if somebody is being prosecuted on grooming charges, that the prosecutor should not be able to plead, allow the person to plead to a lesser penalty, ultimately getting a slap on the wrist. That's really the crux behind this bill. We do not, of course, we support our state's attorneys, we support our judges, we want to allow them flexibility, but in terms of deciding what's best when they're prosecuting cases. But this bill basically says you cannot plead down this kind of offense. It's very serious. And the people who are intentionally participating in grooming young adults need to know they will be held accountable. And this is the line in the sand. You will not have the ability to plead down to a lesser offense if you are caught.
So everything I said, you're saying, well, too bad, this is our bill.
No, I believe that this bill is creating a line in the sand for the prosecutors to say, when you're prosecuting, you cannot plead down to a lesser offense. We want to make sure that we're holding the people who intentionally are grooming our minors. This is the most protected class that we need to make sure we do whatever we can to protect them. And if Michelle has a story about in her particular situation, what happened afterwards, after her son and the person was charged. And she talks about in her story. I'll let her tell her story.
Thank you. So it was about 2 years after he was convicted that I went into a mall in Joliet, and I went to go buy a lab coat, and he was working at this particular establishment. As I started to walk in, he was standing at the counter, and I turned around and walked away and was watching him for a little bit. Did not know he was working there, and I saw him leaning on the counter looking out into the mall at a children's play area that was only about 60 feet from him. So these places of businesses such as that are privately owned should not be a free-for-all for these pedophiles to have access to. So this would include places such as Chuck E. Cheese, Dave & Buster's, movie theaters, Six Flags in Florida, Disney, where we've heard of a lot of pedophiles being brought to charges at Disney. So these are literal playgrounds for these pedophiles, and they need to be stopped. And as far as what you were talking to, we took all of this into consideration when my son had to testify. It was not easy at 16 years old to do this, to come forward, but I reminded him that it was no longer about him. It was about the 3 kids across the street and the 4 down the street. If something happened to one of those kids, how does he face their parents knowing that he could have done something to stop it? So that's what this is about. People need to think about their children, their grandchildren, their nieces and nephews. And a short time on the stand for something that is going to have a lasting impact in somebody's life is huge. So.
Question for Michelle. You
Sure,
say
Michelle.
the process in the court took 2 years, right?
The process took 3 years.
2 years. And what was some of the, that's a long time to take. What was some of the argument that was on the prosecutor?
So there were over 6,000 text messages between the two. And because my son knew that I was checking his phone, as most parents should do, they need to be checking their kids' phones intermittently. And because he knew I was doing that, as soon as a message would come in, he would delete it. So it took some time to get those messages off the phone, and unfortunately, they couldn't get all of the messages, so there were gaps in the transcripts. They kept saying that they didn't have enough to go on. However, in those text messages, he offered my son $500, $1,000, and then $1,500 for lewd and lascivious acts to be performed on him. Wanted to make a sex video, and referred to his body part as my little guy, would ask him he's gonna get to see the little guy. So because all of those things were in these text messages, I kept fighting because I know that this was not the first time that this happened. And ultimately, I found someone else who was willing to come forward and testify with my son. So this is happening in real time in your cities, in your towns. Morris is not a big town. It's a farming community. If it can happen to us, and we are just a normal, everyday family, my son is a very kind-hearted person. This guy targeted him because of that. There was a bullying incident that he went to him on the baseball team. This guy was a baseball coach, and he went to him initially for this bullying incident to handle it on his own, and this guy took advantage of that. And that's what they do. They take advantage of the vulnerable. They take advantage of people that they see as weak. What they didn't count on was my son's family. I wasn't going to let this go because it was no longer about us. God put it in our laps for a reason. He knew we would take care of it, and that's exactly what we did. And then I found out 10 years later that they use our case for every trafficking case that gets busted in this United States. So to know that we had an impact on several families, thousands of families, it's worth it to come forward. And those of you who say that it's not, or that it's gonna harm the child eventually, my son is thriving. He was on the stand for 4 hours and he is thriving now. So that is a farce, that you need to protect these kids from being on the stand. We need to protect them from being harmed and injured. Thank you.
Okay.
If
Thank you
guys
very
have any
much.
questions, we'll be around.
We'll be outside.
You can get in contact with me as well.